Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Jen Dillinger. My pronouns are she, her, and you are very welcome here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. We gather our different paths entwined to deepen our spiritual lives, nourishing connection, learning from each other, caring for each other, tending to our world. We can be a full house, so please, if you can, shift over in your seats if possible to make room for groups of 3 or more as more people come on in. On this day when we gather to celebrate earth-based tradition, I would like to honor local indigenous tradition with a land acknowledgement. We gather on unceded stolen land of the Ram Yen and Ramai Tush people. We acknowledge these communities in the interest of truth and justice, awareness and gratitude. In order to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism, we plan to join the Tam Yen and Ramai Tush people whenever they ask us for solidarity. Speaking of solidarity and community, we do encourage the wearing of masks as desired. We express our mutual respect by supporting each other's decisions about masking, distancing, and other health measures. If you're here in person and you have questions about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, stop by the welcome table with the blue tablecloth and chat with any one of our visitor engagement folks and our membership team. You can leave your contact information if you want to receive notification of upcoming events. And if this is the week you want to join the congregation, you can also do that there today. There are a number of upcoming events, as you can see listed in your order of service. I won't go through each one of them, but I will name just one more. A few of our newcomers to UUCPA are forming a chalice circle to meet on the second and fourth Sundays after the service from 12 to 1:30 p.m. in room 6, starting on May 24th. Chalice circles are small groups that meet for personal spiritual growth and community. Brooke says that we have a group of 5 for this newcomer circle, but more folks are welcome to join, and they will spin out a second group if there is a lot of interest. Please write to Brooke or find her after the service, or check in with Jeff, who's in the office, if you are interested in joining. And then the group will meet from May to May. Ways to become connected. And now, let us begin our service. Good morning again, everyone. As we prepare to light our chalice, Megan and I would like to introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Reverend Jen Dillinger, she, her, and I'm one of your 3 community ministers here at UUCPA. For me, that means my professional work is in the community as a hospital chaplain and spiritual care educator. I'm also an ordained Unitarian minister, hence the garb. And so I'm affiliated with this community as both a member and a clergy person. These days, now that I have 2 young kids who are here with us today, I mostly help teach Sunday school for the pre-K to 1st grade group. So getting to lead our annual May Day service is really quite a treat.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan O'Reilly. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a psychologist in private practice and a consultant with a focus on organizational change and DEI. I am a proud member of the Spiritual Adventures Parenting Group, very nourishing space, and recently I'm a member of the Ministerial Search Committee. But you may know me best, and my favorite title is mother to my 2 children, Leo and Maya, who are always gracing us with their joy and wonder. And I would love to invite Maya up on stage to light the chalice this morning. All right, girl.
For folks at home, if you have a chalice there with you, please light it along with us. We light this chalice to honor the light of community in our lives. May the symbol of the flame inspire our call to both action and celebration. And may the symbol of the cup remind us that this community provides a container for both our joys and our sorrows. Thank you. Well, thank you, Maya. Well, today we get to celebrate May Day, one of my favorites. I know some of you might be thinking, but today is May 3rd. Yes, I know that the holiday is technically on May 1st, but we gather for worship on Sundays, so we do the best that we can. May 3rd it is. For those of you who are less familiar with the holiday, I'll share some context. May Day, also known as Beltane, is a pre-Christian pagan celebration originating in Europe. It also connects to earth-based indigenous traditions all over the world that mark the midway point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. Over the last 140 years or so, May Day has also become a opportunity for collective action, community action, and protest. And so for our centering words today, we've chosen a poem that weaves both of these threads. The part of the poem that you'll hear today begins with the 4 directions, as many earth-based ceremonies do. And so it gives us a call to hopeful action, starting with our care for one another.
Today's centering words are a selection from the poem The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. We will rise from the gold-lined hills of the west. We will rise from wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. In every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse, beautiful, will emerge. Laddered, battered, and beautiful, when day comes, we step out of the shade. Aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it.
As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, we allow ourselves to arrive here fully. And now it is time for our story for all ages. So if all the kids who are open to it will in front. Come on up, everybody. Here we go. Yes. All right. For the May Day celebration, I like to read the legend from the author Starhawk. She introduced us to so many of the earth-based traditions with her Circling Around book. Many of us have a copy of it. It certainly inspired the traditions that we have here at UCPA. This includes the tradition of the maypole, which involves a dance with which weaves ribbons. Megan, let's go ahead and pass out the ribbon so that everybody gets one. Thank you. And now for the legend. Once upon a time, there was a land where it was springtime, but no flowers were blooming. Everywhere the people looked around and the earth was gray. And so they called for the May Queen. "Here's what you must do," said the May Queen. She pointed to the center of the circle where a tall pole stood. "My tree of life has become a dead stick, but you can bring it to life again." She tossed her head. Does everyone know what it looks? Oh, you've got it, Maya. You're tossing your head right now. Can we toss some heads? Who can toss a head? Yes, there you go. Toss. Oh, Margot's got it. And when the May Queen tossed back her hair, shining ribbons of 100 colors fell to the ground. "And here are the ribbons of love," she said. "Tie each one to the ring of life, for each ribbon stands for a different kind of love, and without all of them, my circle is not whole." Now, does everyone have a ribbon who wants one? It looks like yes, great. You can hold them up. Now, whenever I say the word love, you'll wave it in the air. Got it? All right. And the May Queen said, "Here is the love, yay, you have for your best friend." And folks, everyone in the congregation can put up your hands and wave. Yes, there you go. There's the love you have for your children. And here is the love you have for your best friend. And here is the passionate love two women can have for each other. And here is the love you have for your grandparents. And here is the love you have for your pet. And here is the love and passion a woman and a man may have between them. And here is the love you have for a friend that you fought with and made up with. It's possible. And here is wild, devoted love between men. And here is the love you have for a really great teacher. And the love you have for your sisters and brothers. Here is also the love you have for your sisters and brothers when they're driving you crazy. Think about it generally. Sometimes our community can be our brothers and sisters. And here is the love you have for your aunties and uncles, both biological and chosen. Here is love for music and art. And here is the love that generates children and calls new souls. Here is the love people have for each other when they work hard together, which is what we also do in community. And one more. Here is the love that generates new ideas and creativity. Yay. Thank you, everyone. The May Queen said, "Take hold of my ribbons, dance around my tree, wrap the tree of life in love, and the flowers will bloom again." And so the people built a maypole and danced the maypole dance all through the day. And as they danced, white and pink blossoms popped out on the plum trees and cherry trees. Daffodils pushed up from the ground, and buds formed on the roses. Lilacs perfumed the air, and poppies opened their bright petals to the wind. And spring had returned again. Thank you, everybody. Now please fly your ribbons and dance with me to "'Tis the Gift to Be Simple." And so we can all rise and sing to "'Tis the Gift to Be Simple," and then all children and young people pre-K and up can go to religious education. We now turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives which we wish to share with this community. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like me to speak to this morning, post them in the chat if you're online, provided by Zoom, and they will be shared out loud. In the future, you can always write them on one of these cards before the service, as explained at the top of your order of service, and they'll be over there in the future. Let us now take a few moments of silent prayer or meditation, a quiet heart, to hold all that we have heard or will hear with compassion and care. Blessed be. We will now conclude our time of sharing by reading our UU values together. So do we have the slide up with the UU values? Coming up. Oh, here we go. Great. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all tendencies. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where we all thrive. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish, with inherent dignity and worthiness. We're saying it again. May our commitment to these values fill our lives with love.
All right, good morning again. As your worship associate, I get to share my reflection. So I'm pleased to share with you all that last weekend I celebrated my 39th birthday. You may think it early, but I am an old soul, and I've already begun looking back across my life with just awe and reverence for the intricacies of labor and love that have woven into my life and allow me to stand here before you all today. And an experience that I recently came to mind is one of displacement, grief, labor, love, and ultimately liberation. All of these timeless themes are also what we pause to acknowledge and celebrate on May Day. So allow me to share my story with you, and let's see if we can spot these themes of displacement, grief, labor, love, and liberation. So let's go back in time to about 20 years now when I was a frosh. Frosh is a gender-neutral term for freshman. So when I was a frosh at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, yes, that Waco, I loved my time at Baylor, but Waco was many things, one of which is a desert when it comes to African American hair care. So when it came time for what is called a touch-up, there were no Black salonists in the area. Displacement. I did find a Spanish-speaking salon off campus and thought it would be wonderful to practice my skills and go there. So I did. And everything seemed to go well until about a week later. My hair started falling out in clumps. And it was devastating, thank you. I still get shortness of breath when I think about it, because my hair at this age was more central to my sense of self than my own name. So I did what I could to conceal the patches until I returned home for summer break, and I pleaded to my mom for help. And I can still remember the look on her face when she said, baby, you gotta start over. So we shaved my head and started over. Grief. Over summer break, my hair grew painstakingly slow. Young kids mistook me for a boy, and I saw no images of beauty that looked like me. I can remember now how my mom, in witnessing my distress, started researching hair growing serums and oils, and we would even mix some of our own. And when I achieved a TWA, we celebrated. A TWA is a teeny weeny afro. That was love. Finally, when my hair was long enough for some type of styling, my mom put in the work after her work every day to try to find different styles that I could recreate back at school. Flexi rods, silk press, gel waves, if it existed, we tried it, late into the weekend night sometimes. Labor. And one evening, in exasperation, my mom called it, and we simply plaited my hair into cornrows. Now, cornrows is a go-to style, but it has deep ancestral roots. This 3-strand braid of weave of hair is a protective style that keeps our hair neat and locks in moisture. Yet the cornrow was also repurposed for survival. It was used by my enslaved ancestors to carry seed, rice, and even inscribe directions to freedom. Little did I know, on a much smaller scale, we too were weaving a way to a type of freedom. See, that botched relaxer that I received in Waco is a chemical that permanently straightens my hair by denaturing the protein structure of my curly hair. What an analogy. Steeped as I was in Eurocentric beauty standards, I had yet to embrace that my hair, in its natural state as a gravity-defying, voluminous crown, was always, as it should be, and inherently valuable. Well, the next morning, when we awoke and unfurled the cornrows, much as I'm doing now, that moment was legendary because we had stumbled upon a style that I could use for the rest of my life. This is the style that my husband likes the most. It receives the most compliments, and most importantly, liberated me from desiring my hair to look any other way. Liberation. So on this day, I invite you to reflect on the ways your labor is connected to love, particularly now as so much of our progress and labor of the past is being undone. I wish that you savor the new learning that is always unfolding as we lean into interdependence of our lives and we weave new ways of being together. And of course, celebrate in a beautiful collective tapestry of life that requires each thread. Thank you.
Please rise as you are able and join in singing Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in the gray hymnal. The words are on screen and in the order of service, and also on the CDs. Great. Love to hear the spirited singing. Now I'm going to read to you one of my favorite poems, very, very favorites, by Willow Harth. It grapples with both despair and hope through a feeling of awe. This poem is not meant for you. Unless you too have been underground, choking on your life's debris, and playing peekaboo with death seriously. Then the surprise of 10,000 buttercups out of nowhere on every side where they'd never been before on my daily walk might have had the effect on you it did on me. Because suddenly, I wanted to understand how these particular flowers came to be. The whole evolutionary history of mosses, ferns, and angiosperms. The miracle of photosynthesis and DNA. Not to mention the longings of the Milky Way to reflect itself in the form called flowers, and in these buttercups, which seemed like a visitation from the sun, urging me to tell you, in case you had forgotten, we are the universe's latest way of blooming. Singing like angels indeed. Thank you, choir. As I begin my sermon, I'm going to read the last line of that poem once more. In case, like me, you had forgotten, we are the universe's latest way of blooming. Indeed, here we are, halfway between the spring equinox and summer solstice, at the time of the seasonal calendar that signals hope and life and opportunity. However we find ourselves today, on this slightly less than sunny day, and whatever we are holding that might be weighing us down, still, we are the universe's latest way of blooming. This line speaks to me of the ways in which an earth-based spirituality hooks right into the core of who we are. We are embodied natural beings. We are made of star stuff, as Carl Sagan famously said. And following the rhythms of our planet as it orbits the sun, we can't help come along for the ride that is our yearly calendar, which is part of why I love the solar holidays. The winter and summer solstice, the spring and fall equinoxes, and the midway points in between, like May Day, because they link us with our indigenous ancestors from all over the world, who celebrated and may continue to celebrate their experience of the Earth's rhythms, however they were experienced or are experienced locally. In case you're wondering, this is also my yearly plug for everyone to join us for our summer solstice service, which is coming up in June. Stay tuned. And I'll share a little history. The full origin of May Day as a celebration and the maypole is unknown, in part because it likely predates Christianity and written accounts in Europe. Relatively more recent accounts of the maypoles in various parts of Europe trace back to at least the 1300s, with traditions in Germany, England, Italy, Hungary, and Sweden, among others. And then with colonialism, it spread widely from there. I always love to point out that after it had come to New England, the Puritans even saw fit to ban it, which is how you know it's fun. If you're curious, I recommend Googling Maypole Around the World. It's a website, which will bring you to stories and videos of maypoles and related traditions, because many cultures have traditions that involve dancing around a pole across the globe. One of my favorite videos on this site, which I thought about sharing with you, but it's a little long, describes how the maypole dance has been a part of Afro-Caribbean culture on the island of Tobago. In recent years, there has been efforts to revive those traditions, led in part by someone known as the Grand Dame of Culture in Tobago, Mrs. Annette Alfred. She grew up with the tradition of maypole dancing as a young girl and has spent decades reintroducing it in schools and cultural festivals on the island. This is a reminder to me that cultural traditions can rise and recede, but they need not be lost. I am so grateful to all of those here at UUCPA who have made this tradition part of our own community and culture and keep it going. I did not grow up with May Day traditions. I first experienced the maypole here at UUCPA after I joined as a community minister about 13 years ago, and I loved it right away. As an earth-based symbol, the maypole has such rich imagery with many possible interpretations. In medieval Germanic culture, for example, it symbolized the axis mundi, the center of the world, connecting the heavens and the earth and the underworld below, and then all rotating on that axis. Whatever our cosmologies, this notion of connecting the sky above us and the earth below us, and then rotating around that connection, what a transcendent feel to it. The maypole can also symbolize fertility, with various historical traditions associated with courtship. It can symbolize diversity with its many colors. That feels as critical as ever these days. When Megan and I were starting to plan this service and thinking about various themes, one in particular emerged for us, the theme of interweaving, of ribbons around a pole, of braids of hair, of melodies, of stories, of lives and communities. One of my favorite things about the maypole is that no matter how chaotic the dance might sometimes feel, as we forget who goes over and who goes under, and as one little kid decides to just drop the ribbon mid-dance and run off, no matter what, the end result is always beautiful. However the interweaving happens, it works. The key thing is to do it, to make the intention, to get involved, to connect, to interrelate. I think about that a lot in my work as a chaplain and spiritual care educator. Part of what we do as hospital chaplains is give people the chance to tell their story. The story of their hospitalization, of course, of their illness, of the changes that have happened in their life recently as a result. And then the other stories and memories that get sparked by those stories. Previous illnesses, challenges, losses, and grief. Previous hopes, accomplishments, joys, and milestones. The people and places that have been most important. Their spiritual, religious, and philosophical worldview. Their beliefs, their practices, and communities. It sounds like a lot, but you might be amazed just how much of it can come up in only a 20 or 45-minute visit. One of the jobs of the hospital chaplain, then, is to listen, to care genuinely about the person and their stories, and to convey that care through empathy and reflection. One of the related jobs of the hospital chaplain, then, is also integration, another form of interweaving. The experience of hospitalization can be so overwhelming for patients and their loved ones that it can be hard to access other parts of themselves, the parts of themselves they need to cope with their present circumstances, the parts they feel they need to be whole. Sometimes it's a spiritual practice like meditation or prayer. Sometimes it's listening to a favorite song. Sometimes it's a deeper process of inner reconciliation or meaning making. For one of my patients with advanced Parkinson's, it was about telling the story of cooking with her grandmother as a little girl, of sweet memories of growing up, of culture, of grief, and personal formation. This prompted her to ask her adult daughter if they could try cooking again, together. We even had fun brainstorming on some modifications, using an induction burner instead of a stove, for example, for safety now that her hands shook. This gave my patient hope for her discharge from the hospital, hope that she could reclaim a part of herself, even as she faced ongoing progression of her illness. Hope that she could still do some personal interweaving. My own process of becoming a hospital chaplain was a path of integration and interweaving. One thread was religion and spirituality. I grew up in a multi-faith context with friends from school who were part of the world's major religious traditions. When I was baptized as a Presbyterian at 3 months old, standing at the altar were my mother, who was raised Southern Baptist, my father, who was raised Catholic, and my godparents, who were Jewish. A fun side fact, since I was the most recent baby to get baptized, I was chosen to play the infant Jesus in the church Christmas pageant. It was my first role in front of a congregation, but clearly not the last. Apparently, I did fine until a particularly strong solo from the big organ. Then I started screaming. I promise I won't do that today. From that auspicious moment, I grew up active in our church. At the same time, in a more private way, I also developed my own spirituality around a love for the natural world, a sense of cosmic awe. Another thread in my life growing up was illness and caregiving. From the time I was 3 years old, we lived with my great aunt who was in her 90s. She had Alzheimer's, was deaf and blind. My mother was her 24/7 caretaker. I remember walking up and down along our hallway with Aunt Izzy and singing songs. Sweet Alice, Blue Gown, and It's a Long Way to Tipperary, if anyone knows it. I valued our time together, even as I also witnessed her ongoing losses and my mother's stress. Illness was part of my own experience too. I grew up with hepatitis C, a liver disease which I had from birth and was finally diagnosed at age 15. It was a life-threatening illness at the time, without reasonable options for treatment. As the poem says, I took death seriously from an early age. And so by the time I reached adulthood, I carried both of these threads, spirituality and health and illness, although I hadn't quite woven them together. As an undergraduate nearby at Stanford, I was very active in the interreligious community on campus. I attended every service I could from the various traditions over time, and I took religious studies classes for fun. I also majored in psychology and became an intern for a clinical and research program at the Menlo Park VA Hospital with a psychiatry professor who was at Stanford. We were providing group support for caregivers of patients with dementia, and as you can hear from my story, that was very close to home. So when I heard about the field of hospital chaplaincy when I was a senior, I knew that was it. I had to give it a try. It wove both threads of my life together. I did a summer internship first, and it felt right. I did a chaplain residency after that for a full year. Then I went to divinity school and got my master's degree. And I've worked as a chaplain and then a spiritual care educator ever since, over 20 years now. Now you've heard my own story of blooming. I think church is also a time for integration, for interweaving. There is something deeply integrating, I think, about sitting in a congregation that shares values and proclaims your values. It's why we took time today to do the affirmation of values, although in good UU fashion, we are all welcome to debate the wording. The values will continue to change and evolve, just like we do as a broader community. I also think it can be integrating to be part of a religious community that is non-creedal, that doesn't espouse particular beliefs that may clash with our own understanding. That allows us the freedom to be true to what we believe in and what matters most to us. And with any luck, the reflections, the readings, the sermons may also spark something in us once in a while. Maybe to think about how we want to apply our values in the world, whether in collective action or support. I imagine a number of us were present at the recent May Day protests and events, as many have been present in various actions. Or perhaps a church service might prompt us to get involved in some new way. Maybe you'll join a chalice circle, one more plug, and meet some new people. And maybe you'll join the choir. Bruce can tell me if there's any room left. I don't actually know. Yes, okay. Or maybe simply coming out of this sermon, you'll consider whether there might be a thread in your life that you've been missing for a while or that you'd like to explore. Maybe after the service, you'll have a conversation with someone else about what that could look like. So that is the question I'll leave us with today as I close the sermon. Is there a thread in your life that you might want to weave in? Here's to life, to spring, and to all of our ways of blooming. Thank you, and may it be so.
Whether we are here today, we have chosen to be together, hoping that together we can do so much more to make our lives into all that we dream of and make our world into one we hope to see. If we are moved by gratitude to each other, we may choose to support with whatever financial resources we can this community that we are creating, that is creating us. You can use cash or check or the QR code in the order of service. The offering will now be given and received.
Thank you. Let us say the words together from our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Whether online or here in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for our conversation time. You can talk about various threads you want to weave. For those in person, please stay standing if you are open to it. After the benediction, we'll have a special parade that's lining up right now to lead us out to the maypole for anyone who would like to join in or see the festivity. Now, if you're online, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and touch hands virtually while we say our benediction together. And if you're in the main hall or on the patio, reach out and hold hands if you and the person next to you are comfortable with that, or to show that you are connected in spirit, cross your hands over your heart. Out in peace, in peace. Be of good courage, hold fast to what is good, return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, rejoice in beauty, speak love with word and deed, honor all beings.